Why don't you get a new car, Dad? In order to make them show on the OHP, I've enlarged the tone marks. The big mark in front of car would normally be a small phonetic mark at the bottom of the line. Why don't you get a new car, Dad? Dad? I can even imagine somebody saying, "What's a car, Dad?" Poise being a nice way of holding oneself and being calm and impressive and so on. Ah, she has poise. Oh dear, said the other person, what's a poi? What is a poi? They thought that poise was the plural of some word poi, from which this person was suffering. Right. Good reply. No. It's carrying on. The same complaint, yes. This one's just not cool. Why don't you get a new car, Dad? This one's just not cool. So the stress on this one, and obviously the structure is this one is not, so that becomes this one's. Now, just not. Notice how instead of just, I was saying just. That's loss of the T from just. That can happen provided the T is preceded by a voiceless consonant and followed at the beginning of the next word by another consonant. Just not. It can happen. We can retain the T if we like. Just not has the T. Just not. Just not has no T. And there's a further feature of casual speech here. Instead of not cool with a T, I'm saying not cool with a glottal stop. Not cool. I'm not so sure about that one. The one thing you can't say is not a cool. Not a cool. You must not release the T audibly. You mustn't say not cool, not cool, not cool. Otherwise the listener will probably hear an extra syllable in there, not a cool. This one's just not cool. Now, two variables in there, focusing on the T at the end of just. Is it present or is it missing when I say, this one's just not cool? This one's just not cool. Nobody knows. With it present, I've got, this one's just not. There is time for the T. Obviously the T is not exploded, but there's time for it. And without it, this one's just not. There's no time for the T. The S and the N are joined together. Just not. Now, is the T present or is it missing? This one's just not cool. Present. Yes, you heard that little space where the T would be. Glottal stop. Yes. Not cool. The other version is not cool. Not cool. There's no difference, you're thinking. There is a little difference. In the case of not cool, which is what's on the screen, the vowel O stops before my mouth closes, because I'm stopping the vowel down here in the larynx, and you're hearing not cool, not cool. The other one is not cool. You can see my mouth closing before the vowel stops. So it's a nice car, very economical. It's a nice car and very economical. Car was already mentioned. Somebody said, why don't you get a new car? And the reply is, it's a nice car. You would get a completely ridiculous effect if the question went, why don't you get a new car? It's a nice car. You can't do that. It's a nice car. And very economical. In both cases, the nucleus is a 4. 4. I've got, it's a nice car. 4 on nice, and very economical. 4 on the third syllable of economical. It's just one of those strange things. We can either have economics or economics. And I think it goes for most of the related words as well. I just chose economical. I could have said economical. I hate arriving at parties in a rusty old estate. Neither of them is a 4 rise. I hate arriving at parties. Again, it is true that the pitch at first is high and then it must come low before we rise. But the fall isn't in the nuclear syllable, it's before. And if we were to take the nuclear pattern out and listen on its own, we'd just have a rise, parties, parties. It's not parties, which is what a 4 rise would be. And same with estate, state. It's not estate, which is what a 4 rise would give you. I hate arriving at parties in a rusty old estate. I hate arriving at parties. Changed version. I hate arriving at parties. I'm using a glottal stop as I did a few minutes ago. I've changed that to a glottal stop in the changed version. We can either have a T, as here, at parties, or a glottal stop at parties, Is this a T or is it a glottal stop? I hate arriving at parties. Glottal stop. You can hear it, just forgot that you can have either a T or a glottal stop, and probably wrote down a T, which happened to be correct, but did it without thinking. Here it is with a T, at parties, at parties, with a glottal stop, at parties, at parties. I hate arriving at parties in a rusty old estate. And here's the next bit of the dialogue. Jason's dad drives a purple BMW. Yes, 2 groups. The first group is just the 2 words, Jason's dad, and that's said with a 4 rise. Jason's dad. First syllable of Jason is coming down. Second syllable, which consists of the syllabic N, is on a low pitch. Jason's dad, and then dad is rising. So the whole thing is a 4 rise on Jason. Second group is the low prehead, drives a purple BMW. Within the word W, there's another syllabic L, W. There's an interesting thing here about abbreviations consisting of 3 items, BMW. We tend to put an accent on the first and the last of the 3 items, but not on the middle one. So every time we produce an abbreviation such as BBC, it's not BBC with equal accent on all 3, but BBC. First nonsense word is wasith vuzzle. Wasith vuzzle. Here it is again. Wasith vuzzle. Is stressed. Well, it has so many places where you could go wrong. This vowel, obviously. How many people had that one instead? Yeah, I did. You did? My word is bethrusvige. Bethrusvige. Decide to put the stress on the first syllable, since I seem not to have put any stress on it at all. That'll give us Thurzlfwash.